Just 1 second.
Okay.
Oh, I think we are live. Hi, everyone. We are live.
Hey.
Welcome to the second episode of What is School For? On this show, we discuss, we debate, and we disrupt education. I'm really excited about today's topic. And with my dear friend Mike, we connected through LinkedIn, and we are here to kind of discuss how we can help our children fall in love with learning, with school again. I personally worked in higher education for 10 plus years. And one thing I noticed is, which is sad, that my own children and some of the students I talked to from other undergraduate curriculum is that they are not very passionate about learning. And like every time I announce, hey, we have a class cancellation, everybody's like, hooray!
Yeah.
Wow. So, which is very interesting. I'm really excited about today's topic. And Mike is an amazing educator, entrepreneur, and I can't wait to introduce you in a second. So, before I get started, I want to give my a quick shout out for a big program that I am actually launching right now, which is an entrepreneurship immersion. And for those children between 18 years old to 24, 25 years old. So the program has online learning, which is entrepreneurship, and also a physical immersion in Singapore. You know, Mike and I were just talking about how important it is to still have that face-to-face touch, that human connection with an educator. So our physical immersion is going to be in Singapore. We have 10
Yeah.
speakers come to Singapore. We are going to visit the Microsoft, Adobe, HubSpot, and leading startup companies in Singapore. It is going to be a holistic and transformative experience for our children. If you are interested in the program, please enter me in the comment section. I will follow up with you. So thank you for allowing me to introduce my program. And now we can get started. So Mike is a co-founder of Guide, which is an app to enhance learning, which we are going to discuss later in the show. And he's also an award-winning teacher, so many awards. And right now, Mike works as a lead guide at Alpha, which is an independent and innovative school, and which we are also going to discuss very soon. And Mike is also a TEDx speaker, and I'm going to enter the link to his TEDx talk in the comment section. So feel free to check it out. And we are live on Facebook. Anyone join us on Facebook? Let me know in the comment section. We're also live on LinkedIn, and we're also live on YouTube and on Periscope. So if you are live with us right now, let me know in the comment section where you are joining us from, social media wise and geographically speaking. And thank you so much for being with us on a Friday and to talk about school and education. Welcome to the show, Mike. So honored to have you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be a part of this.
Awesome. So do you want to add anything to my very brief introduction?
No, that is a great introduction. I really appreciate that.
Of course. And there's so much more to what you do, and I can't wait to learn more about you. So are you ready to get started with our...
Let's do it.
Yeah, let me know if you have any questions related to how to rekindle our children's passion for life and passion for learning, and what should we do at school and at home. And so any question related to education, please leave them in the comment section. So for you, Mike, you taught at quite a few different schools, public school, charter school, private school for 5+ years. And you became this amazing and award-winning teacher. But even with so many accomplishments, and you still feel like you were not serving our children the way they should be. So explain that to me. I saw that in your bio, and that caught my attention. So what do you mean by that? What do you mean by not serving our children the way they should be?
Yeah. So I became a part of a teaching fellowship, and when I first decided I wanted to start teaching, and I loved this fellowship, and I thought like, oh, like this is it, like this is the right way to do things. And as soon as I actually got in the classroom and I started putting some of the techniques that I learned into practice, I was shining in the eyes of my administrators. And I was, I was checking all the boxes. Everything looked good. Test scores looked good. And I remember having a conversation with one of my students at the end of the year, and he said, "Well, school just wasn't very fun.
Mm,
Like, I learned a lot. Like, thank you, appreciate that. But I didn't like being here. I didn't love learning it." And I realized that there was something to that. There was something to the idea that you should enjoy school. And like I feel like in the workplace, we focus on, oh, like, love what you do, be passionate about what you do, but we tell students like, yeah, no, 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 like, you guys be quiet and you just get through these years of education, no matter what it's like, no matter what people tell you, just get through this. Like, you don't have to enjoy it.
mm,
So I started realizing that while, like, maybe we are actually teaching them something, if they're not enjoying the process, something's got to change.
mm. I love this, and it's very interesting that you mentioned this because when you think about our life, and so many people are not really enjoying or happy with their life, where they
Right.
are, their job, but they, the common discourse that we hear just suffers through, because life, this is life, and then we become so jaded. It is so interesting to hear that among the young generation because when you look at babies, my children are very young. They were so passionate about learning. Their attention span is
Mm-hmm.
great on the things that are so passionate about, right? Like Lego, books, or toys that are really interesting. But then I teach in higher education. When you look at students in the higher education space, this is the look.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, like,
Yeah.
wow, nobody enjoys the journey. Nobody
Hmm.
enjoys the journey, which is
Absolutely.
so. Is that why you kind of shifted your career focus a little bit?
Yeah. It is, and the main reason is because I tried to do things that were different and out of the box and crazy. I mean, at this one school that I worked at, I tried to build this, like, working aqueduct system using toilet paper rolls and duct tape. And I remember I got in trouble for this, and the students were like, "What? Like, this is awesome! Like, this is the most fun thing that we've done this year." And my administrators are like breathing down my throat and yelling at me, and I'm like, what's the problem? Like, they learned the function of Roman aqueducts, which was a state standard, and they actually got to build it. And I mean, yeah, like, yes, we got water all over the school, but, like, whatever, like. And so I started to do these crazy things, and I realized that there was actually something that was kind of magical in taking on these crazy projects that were, like, kind of ambitious, maybe even too ambitious, projects that would make administrators and sometimes parents upset. There was something to that because students loved it. They loved trying, they loved learning. And I learned that if I created a knowledge gap in those projects that was large enough, students would actually on their own go back and learn what they needed to learn before they showed up to class that day. And so it was just trial and error, and me sort of figuring out and experimenting the best way that I thought that education should be going down in my school.
Oh, I love this. It is so interesting to hear because I have encountered similar experiences where you feel like you were doing things that students really enjoyed and you
Right.
were actually benefiting their learning, their career, but somehow you got yourself into trouble. So what was the reason behind that? What particular way that, allowing our students to play with toilet paper or the ways that the facility teaching was kind of a turn off for the admin?
I think it was because it was messy, right? Like the process was messy. Like the specifically with that project, like the aqueduct system broke several times. And in my mind, when it broke, I'm like, this is awesome because that's a learning experience. That's real life. Now you have to fix it. And I'm not going to tell you how to fix it. But in the eyes of the school, it was like, why aren't you helping them with this, right? Like, why are you even doing this?
Learning, right? Learning, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, I had a conversation with an assistant principal about it, and the word was literally, "We bought you textbooks so you could use them." It's like, what? Like, there's nobody likes textbooks. Nobody.
Oh,
I
I
don't
hate
even know.
it. and like lots of textbooks. I think it's such a great conversation for like I saw that my dear friend Tim is with us. We also have someone from Pakistan joining us live right now on LinkedIn,
Uh,
which is incredible.
that is awesome.
And I think, like parents, many of us, at least when I started this journey in terms of my own children, because I'm not very familiar with the K-12 space. So we feel like, oh, if we just send our kid to an amazing school, to the best school, and we can just completely outsource education. My
Right.
personal philosophy is every parent should be involved in their children's learning journey, and nobody should outsource education because no school is personalized enough to really
Right.
meet the unique individuality and interest and learning style of your very own child.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of my personal take. So it's really interesting to hear some of the issues kind of in the K-12 space, which is very similar to something I encountered. Yeah. So share
Yeah.
more with us. Like you left kind of that traditional teaching space. So what are you doing now? How are you disrupting education and making a difference in this space and help our children fall in love with this beautiful journey of learning?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm doing a couple things. So the main thing that I'm doing is I'm working with an incredible team of people. We are when the analogy build the plane as you fly it. That is what we are doing. We are building a school as we operate it. It is called Alpha. We're in Austin, Texas, and we use adaptive learning software to replace direct instruction. And we do that because we found that the learning software. Oh, you have that screen up, which is awesome. The learning software helps kids learn the same academic content that everybody else is learning in half the time. So where the normal kid spends 6 to 8 hours a day learning academics, our students only spend 2 hours a day, and they are performing at the 90th percentile of all students their level.
Okay,
Yeah,
I have to stop you for a second. This is amazing. This is remarkable. I think this could just really liberate the entire educational system. So I
right.
want to just unpack this a little bit. So what do you mean by learning 2 times faster? So what
Right.
are the specific software that our children are learning? So explain this a little bit more to us so we can
Yeah, yeah.
understand.
So yeah, what you guys see on the screen, those are our three promises. We make those three promises to every parent that walks through our doors. Your kid's gonna love school.
Yes.
Your kids are going to learn 2 times as fast. And so learning 2 times as fast means that we will, for 25 minutes a day, that's the minimum, 25 minutes a day per app, per subject area. So every kid has a math app, a reading app, a writing app, and a language app. And they learn through the app. So adaptive learning software, you are very familiar with it, even if you've never heard of it. If you've ever used Netflix or Amazon, you are using an adaptive software, right? So when you watch a movie on Netflix, you watch a television show on Netflix, Netflix will suggest to you other content that is similar. The
Mm.
way that they're doing that is that there is an algorithm that says, okay, Sally from Idaho, you watched you watch Stranger Things. If you watch Stranger Things, you might also like this movie or that movie. Amazon saying, "Okay, you bought this podcast microphone from Amazon. You might also want a podcast stand, right?"
Trust
So it's
me, I have
taking
spent most of my money that way.
right, yeah. I mean, yeah, like they've used it for years to make more money, and it's like it's literally it's basic. It's input, and then based on the input, they give you a certain output. The apps do the same thing with education. If you ask me a question that's at fifth grade difficulty in a math app, and I get that question wrong, it will put me into a concept that is a little bit easier that builds on the concept that I just missed. That process of pure practice with an instructional video or instructional text is a much better and faster way to deliver the content. Now, if you're a student that's accelerated, you don't have to wait on the class to catch up. If you're a
Welcome
student that is
to the
behind,
show of class. Sorry.
oh, it's okay. If you're a student that is behind, then you don't have to struggle to catch up in the midst of that class. You can be on your app on your own learning journey, right? So the apps cut down the overall academic portion of the day so we can get to that third promise that you guys saw, which is learning life skills. So we teach all sorts of wacky and crazy workshops in our school that you can't really get anywhere else, right? And so that's part of like what makes us really special.
Wow, this is like so fascinating, and I personally immediately have quite a few questions. So one thing, because I am an advocate of digital literacy. And
Yes.
I believe that. So like, have you ever, because one thing I hear from many schools and even from parents, I know my different team asked me this question before. So where do you draw the line, like between technology and our children, right? So I think
Mm.
right now a common assumption many people have is that like children are very addicted to technology, they're very addicted to games, they're not having enough outdoor times, and so how do you kind of explain or cope with parents' fear of technology, and how do you kind of facilitate
Yeah.
a healthier approach or adoption of this like amazing device?
So yeah, one of the things that I think people need to know is that the world is digital. Like, I mean, it just is, and there's nothing that you can do about it. It's not going backwards. It is only going to go forwards. The second thing is to understand that, like, within our model and our context, and 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 even like at my house, like with my own kids, if you can reduce the amount of time spent looking at the screen, then you've won,
Mm,
right? So we've actually reduced the amount of time that kids spend looking at the projector screen, right, in the normal classroom. Because I think one of the things we talk about, we think about screens in the context of computer or tablet or phone, but we never think about the projector. I mean, think about how long students in a traditional school are staring at a projector as teachers cycle through
so
PowerPoints,
true.
right? It's 8 hours. So if you actually think about that and then you compare it to what we're doing at Alpha, we've actually reduced the amount of screen time that students are spending anyway, because the second half of the day, kids are in workshops that are led by human beings. They're out and about in the community, downtown, at the library, at the park, doing some crazy project that doesn't always involve technology. So um, on that front, I think we're winning. But even if you find yourself on a screen all day, I really do think it's about the value of the stuff that you're intaking, right? Like for example, if a kid were to sit and do Khan Academy for 8 hours a day, whatever subject they are on, they are going to get better at that subject. But if you binge watch Netflix for 8 hours a day, right, you might not necessarily be growing in the same way. So it's about the quality of like what you're doing with that screen. Like, I'm less worried about, like, I'm just not concerned about kids looking at screens because they're going to do it anyway, number one. So I think we need to figure out how to maximize and use that screen time productively.
Well, it's such a great point. I never really thought about this way. Like even when students are sitting, even like younger kids nowadays, they sit in the classroom in front of a huge projector to learn the basic like ABC. That
Hmm.
is screen time.
That's
So
right.
can you kind of repeat how much time that each kid is spending on a particular app? I know you mentioned that earlier, but I just
Right.
to kind of like conceptualize a little bit more.
So we only require during the school day kids to be on each academic. So we have five subjects that we think are core subjects: math, science, reading, and language, and then computer science. They only have to spend 25 minutes across each one of those apps each day. The reality is that kids do more because they love it, but it's all voluntary. There's no grades here, right? So we create incentive systems. We create all sorts of reasons for kids to get excited about doing the apps. But the minimum is 25 minutes per app per day. So it's 125 minutes of academic work.
It's like nothing. It's like nothing. So each app, students is completely like self-paced, on demand. So if they are slow learner for some subject, so they can kind of repeat, they can go back, they can control the
Right.
pace. Whereas for some other kids, if they are more advanced, they can go faster. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely.
Personalization.
Yeah. Exactly.
My
Like
God.
almost completely. Yeah.
So what are some of the software that you guys use? You mentioned Khan
Yeah.
Academy.
Yeah, and so I know you're a big fan of digital literacy. One of the apps that I want to make sure that I plug that I love, there's this app called Literal that we use, and Literal is an app, literalapp.com. It is an app that takes books like Frankenstein or like Romeo and Juliet, and it translates the book into a text message format because they're finding that kids will actually read more and they will read more often if it looks like the medium that they like the most, which is text. So we use Literal. We use an app called Newsella that curates current events content, and buckets that content into Lexile levels and grade levels, and it will move a student up in difficulty as they get better. We love this app called Freckle. Freckle's a math and science app. We use Khan Academy. We like Newton a lot. Newton is normally used for college students, but we use it for our upper middle school and high school content. So mainly for some sciences, chemistry and bio.
Wow, this is amazing. This is amazing. I love this. And thank you. I saw people are asking questions. So thank you for this question. And thank you for joining us, Mario. I'm going to ask the question in a second. So is there a place where you have the list of the apps? Because I definitely want to check them out. I also want to give them a shout out on my personal social media platforms. So do you have a link for those apps or
So we don't have like a website or anything, but I will send you. I
I'm going
have my
to
own personal sheet. I'll send it to you.
please, yeah. So kind of just like want to show the so you have okay, we kind of discuss learn faster and what are some of like maybe this question I want to ask you now. So with this kind of like online learning and the full by almost like in-person hands-on projects and
Mhm.
immersion. So are those children in love with school again? Are they excited about coming to school?
They love school.
Wow.
They. I mean, I th- this is going to sound crazy, and I always tell people, if you don't believe me, the next time you are in Austin, Texas, come by. We're in school until the end of June. Come by and see this for yourself. But there are kids. So our school is K through 12. There are younger students that are age 8, 9 years old, and the only way their parents can punish them is by telling them they can't go to school. Like that is how much kids love this place.
Oh my God.
And like I will show you the students. I will bring you to the students. I know it's like there's people that are probably listening. They're like, that is not true. Like I know it sounds crazy. It is. It is crazy. It's nuts. But there are kids at this school that you have to punish. The only way you can punish them is by keeping them away from this place. This is how much they love it here.
Wow, I can well love to connect with some students and get some students on the show if you don't mind, give
Absolutely.
me
As a matter of fact, to my point about life skills, one of the life skills that we want to build is actually for students to learn how to communicate over live video, because this is part of the future. This is where the world is going. So absolutely, I would love it if we could get students on the show.
Amen. Oh my
Yeah,
God, this is such a missing. Don't even get me started on this. This is such a important missing link in our like again. I'm not familiar with K-12, but in our higher education curriculum, digital
hmm,
literacy, live streaming, talking to the camera, engaging digital storytelling is such an important skill. And if
right,
there are so many schools, they just ban technology. I was like, technology is not the root of the problem.
exactly,
Pedagogy is, right?
right,
How part is if you are banning this, how can you even help children to be prepared to develop these skills? And school is the only place before they enter the real world environment.
hmm,
So, oh, this is awesome. I love this.
hmm,
So, like, we kind of, I saw this question from Mario, and so he was asking about life skills. So, what are some essential life skills that you are teaching our students, and how you are like evaluating them? You mentioned that you have certain incentives. You don't
right.
really give them exams, I assume. So, how do you do the evaluation part if you are replacing exam scores? That's a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
question. I love it.
Yeah. So that I'll hit on each one of those. So for evaluation and exams, the way that we evaluate and rank our students is by using the MAPS test, and the MAPS test is used all over the United States. It is normally geared towards Common Core standards. More than 8 million kids in the country take the MAPS test every year, and that is how we are able to say that our apps work and that this model is working and that we know that we're moving in the right direction. So right now, what we know is that 67% of students at Alpha are above the 90th percentile on at least one or more subjects. 25% of students at Alpha are in the 99th percentile. So that like these students are regular kids from regular homes performing at the top of the nation, and so we use the map as the like overall assessment, But in terms of like the day to day, like how do we assess what they're learning? It's just effort. They're like we have detached IQ from academic performance. It is just effort. We track the number of minutes that they spend in every app, and that sort of coincides with the other question that was asked, which is like, how do we motivate them? So I coached basketball for many years, and one of the competitions that we used to have on our basketball team was this competition called Beast of the Week. And Beast of the Week went to the player that like maybe took the most charges in games, or the players that shot the most free throws after practice. And so when I got to Alpha, I knew I'd like, hey, I can adjust this competition and make it about apps, right? So whatever kid spends the most minutes across all their apps in the week, they win this award called Beast of the Week. And all they get is their picture on the wall, and they get this baseball bat that I bought, right? Like we bought this baseball bat, they sign their name on it, and they hold on the bat all week. And you should see these kids. I mean, like they hold the bat over their shoulder and walk around the school, right? Like it's this point of pride. And so that like the first winner this year she did in a week, in 5 days, she did 2,500 minutes, right? So she did nearly 40 hours of work in the apps, and it was all voluntary, and it was detached from her IQ. It was only the effort that she put in. And so that's the types of things that we like to incentivize. And now I think the last part of that, it asks about like what are the essential life skills that we teach. And so life skills is a mixed bag, because if you if you ask a room of 10 people like what are life skills, they'll all give you different answers. But there are some big ones that everybody kind of always agrees on, and they're communication, financial literacy, competitiveness, creativity, and we have elements of all that. And so our life skills curriculum is twofold. Our program exists in 3 parts. We have the core skills part, which is the apps, and then we have an individual project board. We've created hundreds and hundreds of projects that students can choose from based on what they are interested in. And the projects build all kinds of essential skills that we think are really necessary. So, for example, everybody talks about how kids should be competitive, right? But if you ask somebody, how do you teach competitiveness? They'll say, well, I have no idea. Well, what we do is we put 2 kids in an elevator and we say, great, the first person that touches any button loses. And then you'll figure out who's competitive, right? If you want to teach grit, give a kid an ice cube and see how long they can hold the ice cube. The kids think it's fun, it's a challenge, but they're learning these skills. And as you talk them through what is actually happening in their brain, which, by the way, I'm a big proponent of brain-based education. Talk to Robin Schulman about that. But when you talk to them about like what's going on in your brain and what's going on through that process, then like they will learn grit. They will learn what competitiveness feels like, right? And so we create all sorts of wacky projects, all sorts of crazy workshops. The workshop that I just got done teaching, I was teaching kids how to flip stuff on eBay, and then they took the money that they made from their eBay flips and they started their own business. So we've got kids running like a natural like lip balm business. There's a business called Buddy Boxes, where like if you get broken up with, they'll pack the box with all this stuff and ship it to your house. I have one student that started his own VC firm with the money that he made from eBay. He made money on eBay, and then he started financing other businesses. And so he owns parts of these other companies within the school. And these kids are making real money, and they're actually running businesses. They're getting scammed. They're losing money. They're making bad deals, right? But they're also making money. They're learning from getting scammed,
Yeah,
right?
you are learning
Right.
from real life. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Like, how do you teach financial literacy if kids don't have any money?
exactly. And
Right.
the worst way to teach financial literacy is sitting in a classroom, taking some exams, answering some questions, regurgitating some information, and
Absolutely.
returning the information to the teacher after a semester is over. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I love this so much because I think learning is the inside out journey. Learning should be personal. So
Mm-hmm.
unless the student can build that personal connection with the subject matter, it is only short-term memory. Like they
Right.
remember everything. They're not going to retain much of the information that they learn. This
Yeah.
is fascinating. Oh my god! I'm so. You guys hire? I need to go to big school.
Yes. We are looking for the smartest people in the world. So,
So,
when listen,
this is amazing. So, what are the background of the teachers that you guys are having? Like, do you call them teachers or facilitator? What do you call them?
so we call ourselves guides. Um,
Wow.
And what is remarkable about this group of people is I have never worked on a more talented staff in my life. Not everybody has an education background. Like, I taught for 5 years before I came here. But one of our one of my favorite people to work with in the building uh, is my buddy Elliot, who has this extensive background in literature, but he's never taught. And as soon as he got here, he was able to relate to kids. He was able to build projects. Right. Elliot is an essential part of our program. Another person I want to give a shout out to that works at Alpha is my boy Oliver. Oliver Jennings graduated from Columbia University with a degree in neuroscience. He had never worked with kids to this extent, as far as I know, and he works with some of our youngest learners. And so you just think about this idea of this dude from Columbia with a degree in neuroscience, and he is working with 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds, right? It's incredible, but he's amazing at what he does. And so I think this is one of the most talented teams of people I've ever worked with. They're all different backgrounds, different work histories, different ages, different walks, all that. And so it takes that. It takes to pull something like this off. You have to find the most talented people from every corner of the globe, honestly.
Wow, I really love this. This is just like, oh my God, so fascinating. It has given me so much hope for the future of education.
That's
And
the hope.
yeah. So what is up? Like you have been, how long have you been working at this school?
So this is my second year here.
So what are
Um,
things like really surprised you? Some like surprising things that you discover in terms of children learning.
wait, can you say that one more time?
So what are some things that are really surprising that you discovered after
Oh,
working
yeah.
here for 2 years?
Well, when I first got here, I thought, I was like, "There's no way that we are going to be able to pull this off without grades." It's like, you have to grade kids; they have to be evaluated. But we have not given one single grade, right? You don't need it. I've also learned that the best thing to do when you're teaching any skill is to break that skill down to its most simple and basic form, right? For example, if you want to teach grit, pick up an ice cube and see how long you can hold it, right? Set a time limit for yourself. Those things seem silly and crazy and out of the box, but really it's just the most basic form of that item. And then we can scale up from there, right? So I think I've learned to simplify learning in a way that makes sense, but nobody's doing it.
Mhm. Wow, this is really fascinating. So, do you have any alumni information? So, after they graduate from the school, so where do they go next? Do they go back to a traditional school, or they kind of start their own ventures, or like if you have any information?
We have no idea. Nobody's graduated yet.
Oh wow,
like,
so this is
yeah, our oldest kid's 15, so we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. Our hope is that they go off and live incredible lives, right? Our hope is that some kids decide to go to college and crush it, and some kids decide, you know what, I don't want to go to college. I want to go start a business, right? And we hope to be able to connect kids with all of the people that they need to be able to make the best decision ever. And I think that if we made this global effort, honestly, to think not like I don't even think everybody should do what we're doing at Alpha, but I think everybody should do something different. And if everybody is doing something different that makes the most sense for their community and their people, and trending towards the future, right? I think teachers should be futurist. Everybody thinks about the world the way it was or the way it is currently. I had this conversation yesterday with someone who's like, "Yeah, when students drive cars," and I was like, "Are you kidding me? You teach fourth graders. Those kids may never ever own a car. They may
you
never drive a car, right?" And so I think that if we all globally commit to that, right? We commit to this. It doesn't have to be Alpha. It could be any other schools. It could be and will be Classroom Without Walls, right? It'll
oh,
be your school, right?
what a
Like
talk!
but I think that effort is necessary on the part of all of us to really make this change.
Oh my God, you have no idea. Every single cell in my body is like, oh my God, bubbling. Like I'm so excited that we're having this conversation to know
Yeah, me
that
too.
there are so many people like you, like disrupting the traditional system. I know definitely like from other conversations, what really surprised me is how much our children love learning, right?
Yeah.
I think we all have that innate desire to learn, to grow. But
Absolutely.
somehow the evaluation system, the stress involved in going to school, slowly and softly killed that inner desire to learn. And
Hmm.
what I hear from you is like all those children, they're like, I need more. I can't wait to get more.
Yeah,
This is like so encouraging, like music to every single teacher and parent's ears.
I
This
hope
is
so.
great. Yeah. So let's talk about you a little bit more. So you and your wife
Hmm.
have decided to homeschool your own children. So
Yeah.
share that kind of decision making process with us. Was it hard for you to make that decision, or kind of a natural step?
No, it was hard. It took 5 years to make that decision. So our oldest child is 5, and when he was born, one of the first conversations that we had was, okay, what are we going to do about school? Because I was a teacher, and my wife was like, I don't know, babe, I want to homeschool. And I thought, no, I'm a public school teacher. You cannot be homeschooling, and I'm over here teaching in the public school. It doesn't work that way. And we argued for years. I mean, was it private school? Was it independent school? Was it homes? We went back and forth for many years. So there was many conversations where we had to say, you know what, we're going to leave this on the table and we're going to walk away from this because I love you and you love me, right? Like, uh, and in the end, my wife ended up being right, which is another moral of the story is that your wife is always right.
Oh, I
Um,
actually I was hoping to show my cup, but like I
oh
have
yeah,
wife is always right, but I don't have that mug with me today.
it
Like
is.
listen to your wife hashtag.
Yeah, it is true. Uh, she was right about this. And so what we ended up doing was combining what I learned from Alpha and my wife's desire to homeschool to see if it worked. So we're homeschooling our 5-year-old, our 4-year-old, and our 2-year-old at the same time, using adaptive apps that scale down to their level, and they are able. Like my 4-year-old is extremely. She's very bright. She's accelerated, and she's able to go as far and as wide as she wants, and doesn't have to wait on the other two. Right? My 5-year-old is more advanced than my 2-year-old, and he doesn't have to wait on her. And the other thing is, as a homeschool parent, it takes the pressure off my wife because now she doesn't have to be this super teacher and super mom at the same time. She can just be super mom while she outsources the teaching to the apps, and she's building, like, we're gonna carve pumpkins tonight. The kids painted pumpkins, like they're doing arts and crafts. My kids feel more confident. They're happy. They love learning. I get home, and for the first 30 minutes of when I get home, they're telling me about what they learned in the apps. like
Mm.
like my daughter's like walking around like, oh dad, that's a 5, that's a 4, that's B, that's this word, that's that word, right? And it's incredible to see at such a young age, because I work with the oldest kids at Alpha. I don't get to see the young ones in action, but now I get to see how adaptive learning software and this model and just doing something different, how it sparks learning in the youngest of kids, which are my own.
Oh my God, I try to steal this model myself. This is like fascinating. And I think
Yeah.
one problem in our educational environment is like mass production, standardization. A very important missing link is this personalization. Because learning has to be personal. I work in higher education. Sometimes, like at my own school where I just resigned, our classes are small, but like 30 students. I taught at big state level university, like 300 students, 200. Oh, very, very,
Mm,
very common. So how
yeah.
can you really personalize? Like 2 weeks ago, I had my friend on the show. He and his wife, they have 9 children. And
Well, yes.
what he told me is that every single kid learns differently. Think about it. They all come from the same parents. So
Hmm.
if they are so different, imagine the students in our own classroom
Right.
coming from different parents, different families, different cultural, racial, different whatever background they come from. And we expect them to learn the same way, the same sequence. It does not even make sense at all. Like,
Hmm.
now you think about this. So I love how they can personalize this. This is really amazing. So is this kind of the path that you want to continue for the rest?
So we're going to let them choose. So we decided, instead of choosing school for our kids, we would present them with the first option, which is, hey guys, like, this is what school feels like. You need to learn some things before you make a decision, and then we're going to let them shadow at Alpha, and they'll decide whether or not they want to go to Alpha. And what I from knowing my kids, what will probably happen is that my oldest, my 5-year-old boy will say, I want to go to that school. And my daughter, my 4-year-old will say, nope, I'm going to stay at home. And so that's fine with us. She'll stay at home. She'll keep doing our homeschool version of Alpha, and my son will go to Alpha. And, and if they decide to switch later on, whatever, I think, we're learning now, and a lot of people are leading this charge in the career world, that you don't necessarily have to stay with a company for 10, 15, 20 years, right? We're learning that that you can stay there for 3 years and move if you're unhappy, and it's not bad. So I think school should be the same way. If you try public school and you're like, oh, don't really like public school, go try something else, right? So that's what we want to introduce for our kids as well.
Well, I really love this. I just shared the link in the comment section. Everyone, if you're interested in checking this out, definitely, I'm sold. So what's the age range for this school?
Alpha is K through 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. I can't wait to have the first cohort of alumni to see how they are going out, how they are changing. I don't think they, I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested, but I think they are going to make big changes, big waves. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So besides Alpha, you are also the co-founder of another. I don't know how you have time for this.
Okay.
And you are also the co-founder of another app,
Right.
which is called. Hold on, let me share the screen. Here is right. It's called Guide. So,
Yeah.
so tell us more about this app. What is this app about, and for whom, and how to use this for educational purposes?
So really, really quickly, Guide is a response to, like, what I was saying earlier, is that I don't think that necessarily everybody has to start a version of Alpha or do Alpha. But I do believe that life skills are essential, and we've optimized for that at Alpha. And so it's one of the ways to create life skills education that every student can access. My great friend Tim Salau and my great friend Taban Cosmos and I joined forces before we had ever even been in the same room. We did this all on LinkedIn, and we built this app. Taban is one of the most gifted software engineers I've ever met in my life. We went from zero to app in 5 months.
What?
5 months. It was the end of April when we started this. We built an incredible team around us, and there's 9 of us in total, but 3 co-founders. We have been blazing this trail, and we believe that Guide is the answer for life skills education for every high school student in the nation. Like in the United States, we really believe, and eventually the world, we believe we can be global. But if you can house life skills education in a similar platform to look like a TikTok or like an Instagram or whatever, and you can convert some of the kids' online screen time to learning life skills that lead them to internships and jobs and careers in college, then I think that we can really help kids win in the future of work and the future of education. So that's why we're doing this.
Wow, I love this. So explain this a little bit more to us. So how can students cultivate their life skills from watching? Like I assume they will be watching the videos, right? So how
Right.
that's adults fast from like life skills and watching the videos. So how can that happen?
So at a very fundamental level, learning anything is a matter of content delivery, acceptance of the content, and execution, right? So we are providing the delivery and acceptance. So we are delivering the content through micro video content. So our clips are going to be 30 seconds or less. And then, so whatever skill you're teaching, let's say you're teaching cooking, you'll break down each step into 30-second video clips, so that they're digestible, so that they're shareable, and so that kids can access them on demand. And then we're going to see what kids are going to do with all of the knowledge that they've learned and gained from Guide, because kids are going to be posting on our social and sharing internships that they just landed with us, right? And so a lot of this is going to be us building strong partnerships with large and small companies. So if you have an internship that you're trying to train kids through, please hit me up. Would love to talk to you. If you are somebody who works with the Bold internship at Google, hit us up. We would love to partner with you guys and create some pathways to your internship through our app, because we believe we'll have access to most high school students in the United States in the next 5 years.
Well, a lot of I think this is really also powerful for homeschoolers, right?
Absolutely.
Like I'm an entrepreneur. I'm interested in connecting with other entrepreneurs like yourself. That's why I love this show.
Yeah.
And for us, the homeschool, I think we are kind of a unique demographic who want to homeschool our children, not for like religious purposes or some other purposes, but really because
Right.
we are dissatisfied with the current educational system. So last year, I think this act can be a great way to nurture a unique community of parents like us who really value outside the classroom learning and to cultivate
Absolutely.
important life skills.
Yep.
So so the app is free, right? So everyone can download.
So yeah, when we launch officially, the app will be free in the App Store, and then there will be other levels of premium options that you can buy. Um, we I think we've set the homeschool option at $5.99 a month. So for less than Netflix, you can access our entire library of life skills content. And that's really the vision. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned homeschool because number one, I think something that you said is so key is that most people should be homeschooling if they decide to make that choice because the current system has failed to deliver on the promises that it made. And I think that everybody agrees and everybody knows that the current system, the traditional school system, public and private, is failing to meet the goals that they said they would meet for us. And because that's the truth, we should divest from those systems and create our own, whether that's homeschool, independent school, whether it's homeschool cohorts, whether it's online school, whatever it is. So we hope to be a solution for especially homeschool parents.
I can't agree more with you. And actually, after I launched this show, I started to have conversations with lots of entrepreneurs. I was so surprised and also not so surprised to discover actually lots of entrepreneurs they homeschool their children.
Yep.
I think that's a big, telling factor to show. And I came out of the education background, and you also came out of a traditional education background. So I think it is a healing stories from us to inspire those who give this like at least even if you are not thinking about homeschooling, but at least be more involved, be more
Yes.
invested. Don't outsource your children's education. Like
Right.
telling every single parent that I know, it is so important. No school is really good, personalized enough. Yeah.
Hmm.
So we're just like this has been such an amazing conversation. Just wrapping up here. So two quick questions. So what do you think? What does school mean to you, Mike? What does going to school mean to you? What is the purpose of education? What is the purpose of learning of school?
Yeah. So for me, I believe education is so important. And I think that school in general can be a place where you launch students into the future. And so in my personal story, I am only 5'11" and I love basketball, but I knew very early on the NBA is not something that's going to happen for me. I'm not going to play professional basketball. And so through teachers who cared about me and through my mom, who was an educator, I learned that education was the key to my future, and not in the sense that it was the key to becoming a lawyer or a doctor. I If I learned how to learn, I could become anything, right? Like today I could pivot. I could walk away from this career today and go learn how to do something else, learn how to be something else. And that's what educate for me, that's why school and education is important. If we can teach kids how to be whatever they want to be, then honestly, I mean, like it's the most powerful force on earth.
Oh my God, I love this. It just reminds me of the futurist Kaufler. I think he mentioned the illiterate of the 21st century is not those who could not read or write, but those who could not learn, unlearn, and relearn. So I
Right.
just how to say, how to learn, how to unlearn. For me, I have
Hmm.
to fix redo the damage, right? How to unlearn what I was being taught
Yeah.
and then relearn. And so I love that. Yeah. So my last question for you is, if you had the amount of resources and money that you need to design a perfect school, how does that school look like to you?
That's a great question. It looks a lot like Alpha.
Mm.
If I had the money and the resources, I would design a school that looks like Alpha, but also, um, I believe very strongly in the idea that schools should be free.
Mm.
And Alpha is not at this moment is not free, and I do believe we have the capability to build free models of this school if we need. But I believe that school should be free because I, I think that to commoditize learning, the most basic forms of learning, I think it is almost oppressive, and I believe that everybody should have access to this. So I would make a version of Alpha, a version very similar to Alpha that is free. But I also believe that the school, especially in the United States, especially in the Black community, the school used to be the hub of the neighborhood. It was where things happen. Like it meant more than just textbooks and standardized tests. And I feel like school and community center should be synonymous, right? I feel, and I would love to create a place like that. I would love to create a place that is a co-working space on the top floor and a school on the bottom floor, right? So you can drop your kids off and go build your business or go have your meeting or go do whatever, and you know that they're down there learning to change the world while you're upstairs actually changing it, right? So I I've got a million visions, but that's
I
me.
love that. Actually, that really made me think. I also the way I design classroom without walls is also for more parents who are working remotely. They can kind of personalize the curriculum and to have that physical immersion. I think we need more kind of visionaries like you to figure out ways as we have more parents who are working remotely and who are also
Yeah,
homeschooling. So how can we like create like models that is tailoring to this kind of a family unit, right? So I
right,
love that. And even before we started the live show, you and I were talking about even like rotating locations, right? Why do we only have a fixed classroom, right? Like a
right,
prison? Why can't
right,
we rotate different physical locations, different factories, different like industries? And I think that would be really like learning beyond the classroom. But that will involve communities, professionals, and maybe that's how we can make learning quality education free for everyone, not
yeah,
only for the rich people, but we
mm-hmm.
have to have this like corporate, like sponsor everyone involved to really make this available. After all, they also need the talents from all those schools.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely,
This
yeah.
is amazing, Mike. You are a rock star. So
Thank
where
you.
besides everyone, I shared the link in the comment section. So please make sure you download the link and check out Alpha. And I will also share the apps that Mike mentioned earlier that you can allow your own children to play at home and start learning, self-paced learning. So where can people connect with you and learn more about you? Mike, share with us.
Yeah. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm the number one Mike Yates on LinkedIn. There's a lot of us, but I'm number one. Connect with me. And also on Twitter, you can my Twitter is at just Mike Yates. Like just is in there, JUST Mike Yates.
Let's do it. Yes.
So yeah, that's it.
Awesome, awesome. I will also make sure to enter the link in the comment section, and everyone can follow him. And next Friday, the same time, same location, I will have my dear friend Jacqueline on the show.
Yeah.
And oh, you know her, right? She
She's next level.
Oh my, oh come on, Mike, you are next level too. So she's doing some incredible work. She's also a TEDx speaker with her daughter, and she has a unique perspective on education and giving and serving. I just love this lady, so I can't wait to have a conversation with her about ways that we can discuss, debate, and disrupt education. So I hope you can join us next Friday the same time and same location. And thank you so much again, Mike. You are amazing. And thank you
Thank
so much,
you.
everyone who joined us live. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Bye.